mean a thing if you ain't got that swing. Don't mean a thing, all you've got to do is sing. It makes no difference if it's plain or hard. You gotta give that rhythm everything you've got. Yes, don't mean a thing, all you've got to do is sing. Oh, it don't mean nothing if you ain't got that swing. No, no, don't mean a thing, don't mean a thing, all you gotta do is swing, boy. It makes no difference if it's plain or hard. You gotta give that rhythm everything you got. Yes, don't mean a thing, all you gotta do is sing.
And that was the Melbourne-based Red Onion Jazz Band starting this week's Jazzology program. Hi, I'm Peter Cowden, and taking you through with quite a few tracks this afternoon. We'll probably go a little bit beyond our normal half hour. But from the Red Onions, let's go now to Tom Baker's San Francisco Jazz Band, recorded in the mid-70s, and a good old Australian number called Walker the Fish.
Oh, they say some people long ago were searching for a different tune, one that they could croon as only they can. They only had the rhythm, so they started swaying to and fro. They didn't know just what to do. That is how the blues really began. They heard the breeze in the trees singing weird melodies, and they named that the start of the blues. There came a wail
And Birth of the Blues there from the Canberra-based vocalist Lisa Keane and her compact disc called Pure Imagination. And Lisa Keane was a recent visitor to Newcastle for the Newcastle Jazz Festival. Let's go now to a track from the Pierce Pickering Barrelhouse Jazz Band and their version of On a Slow Boat to China. And don't forget, if you do have any requests or need any information, send me an email at jazzolog@jazzology.com.au and I'll certainly respond to you as soon as I possibly can. Going to play a track now, two stride piano players, the young American guy called Paul Asaro and the slightly more mature Englishman Neville Dickey. put a compact disc together on the American Stomp Off label. It's called Just You, Just Me, and the track we're going to have a listen to is After You've Gone, and we'll follow that with one from the St. Louis Ragtimers.
There's an old minstrel tune written about a congregation comes to church Sunday morning. Everybody's there but the organ player, so things are in a turmoil. So the head deacon of the week finally gets up and says, "Now, folks, we need somebody here to fill in on the organ for the morning service." So they looks out into the pews, and they get a gal by the name of Rosie. Says she knows how to play music. So the deacon says, "Well, you just step on up here and play for the morning service." So that's the background for this number, the title being "When Ragtime Rosie Ragged the Rosary." Old Parson Lee of Tennessee, in accents loud and clear, said, "Folks, I'm awful sorry, but an organ man ain't here. Now I'd like to get someone to volunteer to help us out." Well, a gal named Ragtime Rosie got up and said that she could play. Now the parson seemed delighted, and he said, "Now just you step this way." Then the congregation all sat down to pray. There came a shout, "When Ragtime Rosie ragged the rosary," and Deacon Alexander started in to reprimand her, but he turned round only to see that instead of praying, Rosie got the folks swaying. That tune so sweet was such a treat. It charmed their feet, it set them dancing, prancing, ragtime two steps, till Parson Lee, well, he forgot the sermon and began to talk in German, listening to that low-down melody. Then he said, "I want you folks to know, and this ain't no minstrel show. When Ragtime Rosie ragged the rosary." Play it there, Rosie. Alexander started in to reprimand her, but he turned round only to see that instead of praying, Rosie got the folks' way. That tune so sweet was such a treat. It charmed their feet, it set them dancing, prancing, ragtime two steps, till Parson Lee, well, he forgot the sermon and began to squawk in German, listening to that low-down melody. Then he said, "I want you folks to know that this ain't no minstrel show. When Ragtime Rosie ragged the rosary."
Well, this has been Peter Cowden bringing you another Jazzology Australia program. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll do it all again next week. I'm going to go out with one more track. It was recorded 1961 at the London Palladium. Features the Chris Barber Band and their version of Lord, Lord, Lord. And I'll say bye-bye for now.
very much.